What's having the continuity of Marcus back for a second season with you, along with having Danny Langsdorff here as a consultant? What's that done for your development entering year 3 for you?
It's huge. It's really important to have those guys come back because instead of starting fresh, we get to build on what we did last year. I thought we had a good year last year and made some big steps, but didn't roll the way we wanted to, and so we're looking forward to making another big jump this year.
Back left on the podium, Rick. Justin, excuse me, your third rodeo. Just kind of wondering what your perspective of the Pac-12 will be this year. I mean, the team's coming back and the level of competition in that. What are you looking forward to this year?
The Pac-12 is always a very competitive league, and I think it's very talented. And regardless of the divisions, I think both divisions have great talent, and I'm just looking forward to being back and getting to play again.
Right here, front left, Matt.
You stayed away from social media, but how hard has it been for you to avoid the discussions of you as a potential #1 overall draft pick, or the hype that's been generating for you this coming season? How hard has that been to avoid?
It's been a huge honor for sure, but it hasn't been quite as hard as I think people would think it'd be. I've got great guys around me, great friends who kind of keep me down to earth, and they need my best, and just like I expect it from them. So I've completely focused on this team and just excited to be here.
In the back, on the left-hand side.
Yeah, Justin, you talked about how excited you were to be back. How good does it really feel after missing, half the season last year to be back healthy and ready to lead the team again?
Yeah, I found out how much football meant to me. Just watching from the sideline and doing as much as I could, but it really wasn't that much. Football just means a lot, and just to be out here with the guys and with the coaches, it's special. And try not to let any day go by that I'm not thankful for it.
Can you give us your impressions of the improvement of Braxton Burmeister over the last year, and then also the game of Tyler Shuck?
Mm-hmm. Braxton's done an incredible job. He's one of the guys that's always there working hard, and he's a great guy off the field as well. And I think the situation that he was thrown into last year was really tough. And for anyone to be thrown into that situation, that's about as good as anyone could have done. And he's done a really good job. He hasn't missed a workout. He's been there leading everything, and I'm really excited to see where he's at this year. And Tyler's an exceptional player as well. He came in early and got right down to business and knows what he's doing, and he's a really, really strong thrower. So I'm excited to see what he can do too.
On the right front, Jason.
Justin, can you talk about your skill set players or skill position players that you'll be calling on, running backs, wide receivers? Just on paper, it looks like Tony's pretty consistent. Dylan was pretty consistent last year. Jacob, obviously, tight end. But maybe you could throw out, provide us with a few more guys who you think will consistently help this offense this year.
Yeah, outside of those kind of the bigger name guys, Dylan Mitchell and Johnny Johnson, I think Brendan Schooler is going to be a great receiver this year. I think C.J. Verdell as well, Jalen Redd, some of those guys that made some big plays last year, but looking forward to watching them make more plays this year.
No, you're not going to get off that easy. I was going to ask you a little bit about, as a junior, the balance of the academics and the football. How do you manage that, and do you offer any advice to the younger kids coming in and how to manage that structure as well?
It's tough for sure. I think one of the biggest things that I found out was just being able to manage your time, finding out your priorities and knowing what you need to get done first. And I think football and school were the two biggest priorities for me. So if I had homework or anything to study, that and football that'd take my main time away. And so just finding what works for you and creating your priorities.
Front left, right here, Matt.
Cristobal talked about guys making big improvements this offseason. For you, you've been pretty successful in the first 2 years here. What were the things that you spent this offseason either in the film room or on the field working on to be better this season?
I think the weight room was one of the biggest things. I think with Coach Feld coming in and just having everyone around, I think he's done a great job of getting everyone up to speed. A guy like Tony Brooks-James, who's put on 15 to 20 pounds, and he's looked really impressive so far. And I know he's not the only guy, and I know Coach Feld would tell you that. And there's a bunch of other guys that have done just as well, and I wish I could sit here and name them all. But I think that's been one of the biggest improvements so far. Yeah, so we've met with the receivers as much as we can. We've thrown 3 or 4 times a week, just getting out there. We've got a bunch of new guys coming up, and I know Dylan, Schooler, and Johnny. They did a great job last year, but just having them around more and as much as possible is huge.
Justin, last year you showed up to fall camp with a high and tight haircut. This year there's substantial more coif here. I was told you lost a bet, and that's why we're seeing this. Can you explain the situation?
I don't think it was really a bet. I think it kind of started out as a joke, and Brendan he's kind of held me to my word, so I had to follow through with it. And with fall camp going, I don't have much time to get away and cut it, so we'll see what happens.
Justin, we've seen you buffed up a little. You talked about the weight room. Maybe talk about how have you felt that even the first 3 days of camp, and what have you noticed? What difference has it made for you so far, and what difference do you expect it to make as the season goes along?
I think one of the biggest things is durability. I think we've done a great job of getting in shape, and the guys around us have done a good job of kind of taking on the fall camp grind and pushing through it. And I think our bodies are in better shape to go through this fall camp, and I think that's one of the things that Coach Feld's done a really good job with.
Have you noticed arm strength or anything in your own body feels different when you're out there?
Yeah, I think it's always just improvements from last year. I think arm strength, just overall strength in general is something that's felt a lot better.
Justin, you're now your jersey's in the Duck store to be bought. Like when you were growing up, what Oregon jersey were you wearing, and did you ever think it would be yours that would be the one everyone was going for?
Yeah, that's something I always think about. I had LaMichael James, Darren Thomas, a couple of Marcus Mariota's jerseys, and it's just funny to look at and kind of think about how things have played out. But it's definitely an honor and something that I got to remind myself every day.
Something that has been sort of critiqued at Oregon over the years is the size of their linemen, but now with Cristobal coming in, obviously linemen have put on quite a bit of pounds, and obviously in recruits as well, just bigger in stature. So what's that like to have sort of those Alabama-style linemen in front of you?
It makes me feel a lot better about just going forward. I think with those guys around is really important. They're not only are they huge, but they can move really well, and watching some of those guys run is really impressive, and just having them block, and I know the running backs are super excited about it as well, and Coach Cristobal's done a great job of getting them here and getting them taught, and I'm really excited to see what they can do this year.
At what point with Schooler last year did it transition from a guy who, hey, let's try him out at a new position to, hey, this is an asset for me as a quarterback, a receiver that I can trust, and kind of where's he at right now compared to that time last year?
Yeah, I think he made an immediate impact when we put him at receiver. But when he really found out like the ins and outs of the offense and he knew what he was doing, I think that's when we realized that we had a special player on our hands. And it took him a couple weeks to get it figured out, but it's a tough offense, and for him to figure it out that quickly is really impressive. So I know that he's got things figured out this offseason, and he's going to be a really, really great player this year.
You guys added a couple grad transfers that probably can help right away, but what have you seen from Cano and Tabari? I know Tabari's been hurt, but what have you seen so far from those guys?
They've been really impressive so far. Just the short couple days they've been here, they've both made some plays, and it's been really impressive to see, and I know that just adding any depth is huge, and having those guys around that can make plays and block, and excited to see what they can do.